Crazy Carl coming to you from his humble living room. Wanted to just do a quick presentation on some tactics on an article that was written in Offshore Release by myself and Mark Romanek. It's just a real quick reasons and tactics for running weed beds. So my beautiful daughter's here helping me out cut this video, and we're going to talk a little bit about weed beds, why they hold fish during unstable weather, ripping cranks through weed beds, live bait tactics, boat control, offshore tackle products such as tadpoles, guppies, and offshore tackle, tadpole, or tattle flags, and the reason why they're so important to fish the weed beds. So, getting started. Weed beds typically are found in bays with shallower water, which typically during inclement weather or blows does not have the same changes in the fishing patterns as your bigger water will. Bigger water will tend to shut down fish or blow fish to a different area and make it tougher to find bait. If you don't have bait, you don't have walleye. So, with that being said, it's a good place to start. It's a good go-to place if you can find weed beds in bays to target walleyes. Bait fish cling to these areas, so obviously feeding walleye will also be there if there's walleye in the area or the water you're fishing. One way to cover weed beds effectively is to do what I call ripping cranks. So ripping cranks is basically running a shallow diving body bait at 1.7 to 2.0 so you can cover some water, and you want a bait that's going to run on top above the weeds, just above the weeds. But to do that, obviously you got to know if your weeds are marking 5 to 6 foot from the surface, you don't want a bait that's going to dive 7 to 8 foot. You'll be dragging weeds, and if you're dragging weeds, you're not catching fish, right? So best way to figure out the bait you want to run is with the Precision Trolling Guide. The Precision Trolling Guide is available online, downloadable with any bait that you can think of out there that you want to run, or you can order the book such as this and pick individual baits, get all the baits out there manufactured. It's all there. It's an invaluable tool to have on your boat or on your electronics, phone, what have you. While doing that, you can locate fish faster, you can cover more water. But sometimes that bite gets a little tougher as the day comes up, or the cranks just aren't producing the fish you want to catch, and you want to slow down. You've already found pockets of fish, so you want to slow down and fish live bait presentation. And to do that, that's a little bit more tricky in weeds, because obviously when you're talking about weights and drops, staying out of the weeds can be a little more difficult than it can be with cranks that are going to float when you slow down instead of sink, such as your live bait rigs will. So the best way, or some of the tactics that work for me, are to run a offshore tackle guppy. This is a 1/2 ounce. They got 3/4 ounce all the way up to 3 ounce. These can be hooked inline such as this, or snapped weight such as this. Typically over weeds you're going to want to run inline, not snap weight, but I wanted to show you both ways of using these. They have an eyelet on the top that hooks to your main line, an eyelet in the back that hooks to your leader that goes back to your live bait rig, whatever you may run. This happens to be a Warrior crawler harness that I tied up with Warrior blades. And these work really effective. But again, you need to know how far they drop at the speed you're running. There again, Precision Trolling Guide. It's going to have the guppy weights, different inline weights, and their tadpoles in there to show you dive charts for speed. So, very effective way of catching fish through the weeds. But my favorite weight to use is offshore tackles, tadpoles. And the reason being is the tadpoles not only are weighted, but they dive. So as this dives, it goes down, and as a fish hits, it releases, straightens out, and you're bringing it in without that diving action pulling on the weight. And the reason that I find these so effective is in your traditional inline, you may have to let out 75 feet, just for instance, to get to your desired depth. With the tadpole, you let out much less line to reach your desired depth. So as your speeds change or you're setting your boards out, this is going to drop a lot greater distance and variance than your tadpoles are. Henceforth, these will not dive into the weeds as much as your standard inlines will. The other great effect they have is they tend to deflect the weeds before they get back to your baits. So there again, if you have weeds on your bait, you're not catching fish, right? All right. Another important tool is offshore tackles, tattle flags. And the reason I say that the tattle flags are so important is you can set the spring tension to where this will maintain the flag in the position you want by simply adjusting it up and down the holes in the front of the board. So if your bait has got the flag and it's staying upright, if you happen to get a slight bite, it's going to show that. If you happen to hook a weed and start dragging weeds, the flag's going to remain down. So now as you pay attention to your boards, you can tell the difference between the bite or, hey, we're just dragging weeds, we're not going to be catching any fish. Great tool to have on all your boards. The other thing I'd like to talk to you about real quick is boats and boat control. I find that boat control, fishing weeds, is probably one of the most important things, because the more your speed varies or you're side to side, the more your baits are dropping into the weeds. You're just not fishing effectively. So one thing I recommend is that if you're out looking for a new boat, test ride. Make sure that the boat tracks well, that it doesn't sit too high off the water and catch wind, because wind will spin a boat so quick when you're trying to troll at 1.0. The other thing is keep it simple. Troll with the wind whenever possible. That helps keep your boat into a straight line, uses less battery life on your trolling motor. And the only way that I troll through weed beds is with my bow mount GPS Minn Kota. I run a 112 Tarova. It does everything I need it to do. But by doing that, it helps maintain your speed. It helps maintain control of the boat if you keep the wind at your back. I run a 19-foot Warrior V193. It is a superb tracking boat. It has a taller windshield. You look through, you stay dry, but it tracks like any other boat I've been in. So let's move on real quick. Let's talk just real quick about different baits. Most of you guys have the idea, but Warrior blades are great painted blades. They come in a variety of different colors. Some of the hottest colors out there. I tie them, all of them my own, but you can buy already tied blades, or you can order blades through Warrior. They also do custom painted baits, P10s, Husky Jerks. They're all out there. But personally, I like to run what's called a worm burner. Same thing, I run a Warrior spoon. The reason I run Warrior spoons is they're light. They have great action at slow speeds, 1.8 miles an hour I run them, and they still get a great wobble. I simply take the treble hook that comes on the spoon off. I tie a snap-on Snell system with a single hook in the front and a treble stinger in the back. I typically run these a little bit higher so that the trebles aren't hooking the weeds, but you get much better hookup rates on the walleyes that you're catching. I run about a 4 to 5 inches behind the spoon. Just something that personally works for me. Some guys run them tight, some guys run them a little bit longer, but that is what works for me. That's all I can tell you about that. But Warrior Lures, great spoons. They come in 2 different sizes. You can buy the really small spoon. I run their standard size spoon. That seems to be the most effective for me. But at times, the smaller spoons do the trick. So I carry a little bit of both, or I should say a lot of both, on my boat. So I think we've talked about why weed beds hold fish. Talked about ripping cranks. Talked about how to slow down, use crawlers, and be effective with it. We talked about boat control and the proper tackle to help you be successful on the water. So, if you have any questions, hit me up on Facebook. I'll do my best to get back with you and answer you any of the questions you may have out there. Appreciate your time taking a look at this.